Have you ever felt confused because you don't know how to make a balanced and appropriate combination of acupoints? Whether acupoint should be on the affected area or far away from that? Should we choose the points on the hands or legs, etc.? This is the video for you. I have to say that I'm not a professional in acupuncture. This video is just for beginners who find it difficult when making a balanced acupoint combination. Most of the information today I took from the book Foundations of Chinese Medicine, a comprehensive text by Giovanni Maciocia. And now let's get it started. Generally speaking, there are some principles that could help you in choosing acupoints. Number 1. Balancing distal and local points. Number 2. Balancing upper and lower parts of the body. Number 3. Balancing left and right. Number 4. Balancing front and back. And number 5. Balancing yin and yang. It's worth mentioning that it's not necessary to follow all the above principles. Depending on the case, you can choose 1 or 2 principles appropriate for the patient. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the first principle, balancing distal and local points. First of all, definitions of local and distal points. Local points are those situated in close proximity of the area where the clinical manifestations occur. For example, the patient with lower back pain, the local points definitely would be on the lower back. Distal points are those that affect a certain area, although they are situated away from the area when the clinical manifestations occur. In the above example of lower back pain, distal points would be those on the legs. Commonly, Wei Zhong acupoints are chosen if the bladder channels are affected. Another example is teeth problems with pain and swollen gum. In this case, Di Chang, Jie Zhe, and Sa Guang are the local points, while Nei Ting is the distal point. And as you can see, all those acupoints belong to the stomach channel. It means distal points are usually situated on the arms and legs, and specifically those below the elbows and knees. But in some situations, they could be in other places. Let's discuss the previous example, lower back pain. If the patient has acute lower back pain in the middle of the spine, it means the governor channel could be affected. And Zheng, located on the philtrum, in this case, could be a good choice as the distal point. The next question is, how could distal points be chosen? Generally, local and distal points are situated on the same channel, the former in the area of the clinical manifestations, the latter at the other end of the channel, like what I mentioned in the previous examples. However, distal points are not necessarily only those of the channel involved. They could be situated on the other channels, usually the pair channels. Coming back to the example of teeth problems, besides Nei Ting, He Gu could be also chosen as a distal point. And as you can see, He Gu is located on the large intestine channel, the pair channel of the stomach channel. One interesting thing is that when choosing a distal point, we should keep in mind that distal points on the feet are more powerful than those on the hands. If we want to moderate the effect of the treatment because the patient is rather weak or old, we can then choose the distal point on the hands. Finally, with regard to the local area affected by distal points, there is an important general rule: the farther, the further. It means the further away a distal point is from a given area, the more distal points will influence it. For example, if we take a long channel such as stomach channel, Li Dui and Nei Ting will affect the other end of the channel, the eye and forehead. Distal points slightly further up such as Jie Si will affect a lower section of the other end of the channel, the throat. And points located on the lower leg such as Zhu San Li will affect the abdomen, the stomach and the spleen. And now, let's talk about how to apply this principle in clinical practice. We can divide it into two clinical scenarios, acute cases and chronic cases. In acute cases, the distal point is used first with a reducing method to clear the obstruction of the pathogenic factors and open the channel to make it ready for the use of the local points. After that, local points are used according to the tenderness and the channel involved. In chronic cases, the combination of distal and local points in this situation is also nearly always used. In this case, local and distal points reinforce each other's action on the channel. And now, let me summarize what I've said in this video. Balancing distal and local points is one of the most important principles needed to make a balanced acupoint combination. Local points are those situated in close proximity of the area where the clinical manifestations occur. Distal points are those that affect a certain area, although they are situated away from the area where the clinical manifestations occur. Distal points are usually on the arms and legs below the elbows and knees. A distal point may be on the channel different to the channel where the local problem lies. Leg distal points are stronger than arm distal points. The arm and leg distal points of channels of the same polarity and potential are almost interchangeable. And that's all I want to say in this video. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.